dear but precious few. Yeah, so today I want to begin a consideration of something that makes a huge difference in our experience of who we really are, our true being, and our sense of oneness with others. Any idea what it might be? Well, it's forgiveness. And you know, the actual experience of deep and true forgiveness is so important. We'll probably take a number of levels to let this penetrate to the depths of our being, so that we may expand our ability to truly forgive. So today we'll make a start with this. When people do things that bring up hurt in us, which we've probably all experienced many times, we have an opportunity to forgive. Have you noticed what not forgiving does to you? It starts dissolving the sense of oneness. We may want to withdraw and become isolated. And eventually we may realize we actually lose touch with our own true being. In recent weeks, someone did something that brought up hurt in me. And very soon I noticed its impact. My heart felt heavy. My body very low energy. And hopeless thoughts came like, what's the use? Many people would not notice the difference in their body, mind, and heart because they've been living so long without forgiving, they get used to it. Because it's not my normal experience, it was very noticeable to me. The difference, which I just described, the misery of that, versus a clear heaven. So I knew right away I must do something to forgive, to re-establish the clear heaven in and around me. What do I mean by a clear heaven? It's like looking into the eyes of a 6-month-old baby. Do you know what that's like? There's a pure, clear space between you, and you can feel you're connecting being to being. So if we don't forgive, in English we say we bear a grudge against someone. That means we carry resentment toward a person. So in other words, we're carrying around a load of anger and resentment. Do you know what resentment does to our bodies? Yoronda said it wreaks havoc. I have to check, but I remember that he said it stimulates the adrenals in a way that whips the body. So, if we haven't forgiven, we carry resentment, which is like beating ourselves up from the inside. Good incentive to forgive, huh? So, if there's even one person we haven't forgiven, it restricts our connection with everyone else and with God. It blocks that clear heaven, and that affects our whole lives. So, actually many people know they should forgive. 맞아요? But often they find it very hard to do it. Why is it hard to forgive? Part of the reason relates to our background. What our family and friends did, what was usual for them. That imprinted beliefs in our subconscious when we were very young. When I was 7 years old, I remember I did something wrong. I don't know what it was now, but I remember very clearly I decided I must punish myself before God punished me. So I chose my punishment, no TV for 1 week. So where did the idea come from that I needed to be punished? Actually, my parents rarely punished me, and they were atheists, so they didn't teach me that God would punish me. I think I learned it from my wise Catholic teacher. She was 1 year older than me, 8. So actually, many people, especially Christians, believe that God punishes us. If we think that God punishes us, we maintain the right, the justification to punish other people. There are many levels of that, and it can even be very subtle. Like, I'm not going to give that person a chance to hurt me again. So we keep a distance from them. Physically, we may not want to spend time with them, but also in our hearts, they're way out there. Even in the best relationships, this kind of thing shows up. Someone does something that we feel hurt, and we start to close our hearts. So carrying resentment is a form of punishing other people. And sometimes people feel really justified in resenting. They may say, I resent that, and actually feel very righteous about that resentment. So we noticed a little bit the harm it does to our own bodies, but sometimes we resent without even noticing it. So we push it under the surface and suppress it. But pushed under, that resentment accumulates and builds. And eventually will come out in an explosion suddenly, like an atomic bomb. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever done that? Yeah, probably we all have. A more modified form of resentment is frustration. But it also, like resentment, builds and comes out when we don't expect it. Maybe not an explosion, but little darts. A criticism, a tone of voice, a look on our face. So, at some level, many people believe in a God that punishes and judges. Do you know what Yolanda said about that? I want to tell you because it's very different. God has never, under any circumstance, insofar as any human being is concerned, anyone, anywhere, God has never failed to forgive instantly. God forgave your sin before you even knew you sinned. And He is not in any moment concerned about judging any person about anything. 잘 이해합니까? Okay, so that's quite a different view, isn't it, than what most people believe and feel. But doesn't that describe a God of love? And how could we think that a God of love would punish and refuse to forgive? So does that mean that God condones wrong, destructive actions? No, but God is not judging us. Many people think of God as our judge. God doesn't need to judge. Because God's one law of love works all the time. Those who've taken our Art of Living seminars will remember the one law that we teach. In simple terms, we reap what we sow. So there's no need for God or anyone to judge, because everyone will reap the consequences of their own actions. And that helps us learn what we need to change. So if God doesn't punish or judge, do you know what that means? The whole base of justification for us to punish and resent other people is pulled out from under us. As long as we believe God punishes and judges, we think it's okay that we do. But when we realize that's not true, we can no longer feel righteous in our judgment and resentment of other people, no matter what they did. Instead, we can begin to build a foundation of truth instead of lies, really. Something else Yolanda said that could be part of that foundation of truth. God has forgiven every ill thing that any human being has ever done, that you have ever done, or anyone else has ever done. So, God has forgiven us before we did anything wrong and after we do something wrong. So I want to invite you to take a moment to really feel that God has forgiven you. Just let that realization sink into your body and heart. Perhaps you could take more time with that on your own. But even in this short time, what came to me was God smiling. Yeah, so perhaps when you take more time with it, you may feel a warmth of love and understanding surrounding you, and that the burden you may have carried is lighter. So beyond feeling and realizing God has forgiven us, there's one other step that is vital for us to actually receive forgiveness. To receive God's forgiveness, there's something we need to do. Anybody want to guess? Some of you with long experience could probably easily say, but what's the one thing we have to do to receive God's forgiveness?
Forgive myself and others.
Yes, yes. Forgive others and forgive myself.